Okay, let's take a look at another one. This provider is DEP, which is a little confusing because DEP has a subsidiary. The subsidiary is eAutoAppraise. And so if you are not a dealer eProcess website, you can utilize them with this tool if you like. Now, I show this tool mainly because it operates so different from many of the other providers that we have. And what you'll notice with our example dealer here is that we have very few impressions. Okay, and I'll show you why here in a minute. Now, with lower impressions, I actually have a much higher start rate. And that's pretty consistent from what I see across the data. If the customer is forced to seek out the trade-in experience, they're probably a far more serious customer. So think about this when you're manipulating your own consumer experience and what your BDCs and salespeople can actually handle. If they're poor at closing these trade-in leads, you might want to drive down the amount of activity and just try to garner more serious leads. So this is an interesting case where the vehicle selection rate, the vehicle of interest, is actually higher than the amount of forms selected. And the reason for this is because DEP is tracking the entire experience. And so they're going to attach a vehicle of interest to this customer as soon as they look at one. And so I might actually have more than one vehicle of interest attached to the XML code that's being sent to my CRM. So it's an important thing to note with this type of provider. Now you'll actually notice our last store had only 41 submissions. Even though we have a much lower impression rate, we're actually getting more forms collected. So kind of an interesting psychological thing we have happening with the customers here. And then this experience is a little bit different. So we do have an opportunity to collect an appointment. Something I will say for appointments that is a little tricky. For most of our CRMs, when an appointment comes through via XML, it doesn't automatically log an appointment for that customer. And so if you choose a provider that has this appointment experience, you either need to have a direct API set up with the CRM, or more likely you're going to have to train your salespeople and your BDCs to take this appointment and then classify that in the CRM as it comes in. So they actually need to read the lead to find this appointment and then confirm the appointment with the customer. And then completions, we'll see with some of these experiences that there's something beyond the value itself. And so we have an opportunity to close out the form at a different place. So in most cases, the completions are going to match the form submissions because we assume the experience is ended there. But with a couple of these providers where we might encourage a chat or something like that moving forward, we'll have a different completion point. So this experience is very different in that I don't have SRPs or VDPs landing for this experience. I'm not encouraging that through the shopping experience. And so as the consumer, I actually need to seek out this. So I go to the value of your trade, and then that leads me to this landing page. Now, I like this for stores that are having trouble processing these trade-in leads. You offer the consumer the ability to do a trade-in, and so it's an option for them. And the other reason I like this is you think about a lot of consumers that have their trade as their hot button. They've probably already done a value. And so they might be just looking at you to see if you value differently than perhaps a KBB would. So I'm going to enter my Highlander again. We'll get rolling on that. And we can see that this experience is already very different from what we saw from trade pending, where I have a lot more activities going on here. I'm going to go ahead and put my mystery shopper in. We're going to go to the next step, and then I unlock actually does happen to be a Kelley Blue Book value here, and already got my mileage in there. So we have a little bit tighter range on this option than I did with trade pending. But so I've already collected my form at this point in the analytics, and so that's how we get here. But you can see that we can move forward in the experience, and I can add additional features. I could add the color. I can add you know, tires, a tow package, and my value is changing as I add these options. And then we have a little bit more of a robust online experience here where I can add a video or photo of my car to encourage that interaction with the store. And then at this point, I can add the replacement vehicle. And again, this is the vehicle selection. So if you think about this, and DEP had already tracked that I had a vehicle of interest, and then I added another one here, I'll end up with a selection rate that's higher than the number of customers that came in, if that makes sense. So a very, very different experience here. And then anytime I close out this experience beyond the form lead itself is when I track the completion. And so again, with this metrics, we see that the completion rate is matched to the amount of forms I received. Okay,